drive out of New York City and Philadelphia is a town of unique character, a summer resort that charms and captivates with its sense of history. Ocean Grove is one of a kind, a national and state historic district on the Jersey Shore. Nestled between two lakes with the ocean to the east, Ocean Grove is almost an island. There are only two main entrances, and perhaps that can account for the sense that within its boundaries, time goes a little slower, life is a little dreamier, and the past is still vivid. First impressions? Ocean Grove takes one back to a storybook time, to a small town America of a century ago. A time of summer bands and family holidays. A time of patriotism. A time of white picket fences and porch rockers, and gingerbread on houses, and lemonade to drink. It was a time when the first cafeteria on the Jersey Shore had just opened in Ocean Grove. The cafeteria was called the Sampler Inn because the walls were hung with antique samplers that today are over 200 years old. It was a time when Day's Ice Cream, which was famous in Morristown, opened a seaside ice cream garden in Ocean Grove. It was a time when life was not so rushed, and families did things together. Ocean Grove is no recreated village. The feelings here are real. There's a pride in place, a sense of community. It is a warm, friendly town, 125 years old in 1994. Ocean Grove started out as a religious vacation resort. The founders of the town were Methodists, who established a camp meeting association, part of a groundswell of religious revivalism in the late 19th century. The year was 1869. They were strict in their personal lives and self-disciplined in their religious beliefs. Ocean Grove got a reputation for its Sunday blue laws, especially the one forbidding horse and buggy traffic on Sunday. When Henry Ford's invention took over, the automobile was added to the list of restrictions on Sunday traffic. In fact, all commercial activities were suspended for a day. In 1980, the Ocean Grove Camp Meeting Association turned over its municipal authority to Neptune Township, and cars were permitted in the community on Sunday. But some things never change. The desire for solitude, the need to unwind, the urge to be in a place where buildings are on a human scale, the desire to walk rather than drive, to ride a bike or build a castle in the sand, or fly a kite in the air, to jump a wave, to catch a fish. In a word, to vacation. In the late 19th century, Americans were discovering the joys of a summer vacation for the first time. A new railroad system whisked them away from the sweltering city heat to the cool, clean air of the seaside and mountains. But Victorian Americans wanted to do more than just sea bathe. They wanted to enjoy spiritual and cultural inspiration. Camp meetings met this need, and Ocean Grove became known as the Queen of Camp Meetings. The meetings were originally held in the open air. Later they put up a roof, and the reputation reached national proportions, and the crowds continued to outgrow the building. In 1893, Elwood H. Stokes, the camp meeting's first president, raised $70,000 to build a new auditorium that could seat 10,000. More recently, the camp meeting raised $5 million in donations to restore it. In 1994, Ocean Grove celebrated the 100-year anniversary of this magnificent building. The great auditorium of 1894 has been compared to the Mormon Tabernacle and was an architectural wonder for its day and age. Made of wood, its vast open area is supported by only 7 iron trusses, each having a 161-foot span. Its stick-style architecture became a form of decoration when it was painted. It was thought to be the largest auditorium in the world of its day. It remains as a hallmark building of Ocean Grove. Such a huge space required the king of instruments. A Hope Jones organ was built here in 1911. Throughout the summer months, the organ is featured in bi-weekly concerts Wednesday evening and Saturday afternoon. The sense of history is palpable here. It was the summer home of the New York Symphony and an important concert hall for early Victor recording stars such as Caruso and Gallicurci. Ocean Grove's auditoriums have been the sounding board of presidents. Ulysses S. Grant, William McKinley, William Howard Taft, Theodore Roosevelt, and Woodrow Wilson, and a pulpit for all the great preachers of the last 125 years, including Dwight Moody, Billy Sunday, Billy Graham, and Norman Vincent Peale, the author of The Power of Positive Thinking, who was a summer regular until his death in 1993. In the late 20th century, the celebrities and preachers of our own day and age have taken center stage. The auditorium's largest musical event happens on the second Sunday in July, when choirs from all over the country combine their voices in the annual choir festival in a choral sound that carries all the way to the boardwalk and beyond. And every summer Sunday at 10:30 in the morning, the auditorium hosts an ecumenical service of preaching and music that touches the heart. Camp meeting is the town's oldest tradition, a week-long religious celebration in August. In 1994, the Ocean Grove Camp Meeting celebrated its 125th anniversary, and the camp meeting movement in America celebrated 200 years. Every Saturday night, there's a popular entertainment in the auditorium. From a nostalgic recreation of a John Philip Sousa concert to the sounds of Bach and Beethoven with the New Jersey State Symphony. These musical programs range from jazz to opera, from folk music to rock and roll, from classical to popular. Evenings to please every musical taste. Over the summer months, some vacationers carry on the camp meeting tradition by renting one of the tents that surround the auditorium of 1894. There's a long waiting list. In July, the curious can take the Historical Society's summer house tour, which always includes a tent, and get a glimpse of the diverse tastes and lifestyles of Ocean Grove's residents. Artists and artisans, bankers and bodybuilders, writers and readers, families and singles, all describe the homeowners of this unique summer place. If you visit in the winter, you can attend the annual Ocean Grove Victorian Christmas House Tour and Festival. Who knows? Vacation for a weekend? Live year-round? Or stay a lifetime? Historic preservation efforts were begun in the early 1980s when individuals and groups within Ocean Grove petitioned the Township of Neptune to designate Ocean Grove a local historic district. The town was already a national and state historic site. Since that time, zoning improvements, an historic preservation ordinance, and a Board of Architectural Review have been established to preserve and protect the community's precious architectural riches. But sometimes nature does not cooperate with the plans of man. As in December of 1992, when a nor'easter of unexpected force and destructive power decimated the boardwalks and dunes of the Jersey Shore. The waves carried Ocean Grove's fishing pier and part of the boardwalk out to sea. In 1994, the restoration was still underway, rebuilding the boardwalk and pier. The founders of Ocean Grove had traveled to England to study the town plans of English resorts such as Brighton Beach. They carefully laid out Ocean Grove as a planned community, designed with a funnel effect on the first 2 blocks so that all the houses would have ocean breezes and ocean views. The boardwalk was a feature imported from English resorts. Victorians wore heavy clothing and laced-up shoes. It was hard to walk in the sand. The boardwalk solved that problem. The taming of nature, the civilizing of the wilderness is represented in this plank walk. And people continue to enjoy ocean vistas without getting sand in their shoes. And since the nor'easter of '92, citizens have been inspired to carry out a wide range of beautification projects along the streets and boulevards, in the parks and on the boardwalk, restoring the iron lamp posts that date back to the early part of the 20th century, and planting in 1 year alone 100 pear trees. Time itself has not been kind to all the hotels in Ocean Grove. Some have required a complete restoration to make first-class accommodations within the historic framework. Other hotels have been completely renovated inside as vacation condominiums to rent or purchase. But there's one house in Ocean Grove that hasn't been updated and never will. If you'd like to step back in time, visit Centennial Cottage, an historical society labor of love, the summer home of the Fells Naphtha soap family 100 years ago. Visitors can see the lifestyle of a bygone age. Today, Ocean Grove's cottages and Victorian houses all have indoor plumbing, and most have been restored and renovated, though you can still find the occasional handyman special. But not long ago, hotels in Ocean Grove posted signs boasting of hot and cold running water. The bathrooms were down the hall. Over recent years, these historic hotels have been renovated, restored, and brought into the 20th century with larger rooms and private baths. Still, the prices are very reasonable. Ocean Grove can be a home away from home for weekend, weekly, or summer-long guests, and all different budgets. Eating out is always one of the most enjoyable relaxations of a summer vacation. In Ocean Grove, there's food for every taste. Cafes and tea rooms, a cafeteria, and a garden restaurant. Formal dining and oceanside dining. Pizza and submarines, and of course, ice cream. Along this main street, you can get a haircut, have a manicure, buy some paint, go to the bank, mail your postcards, buy your paper, or buy a house. It's all within walking distance. The gift shops have their own special character, from collectibles of nature to English china, antiques, old books and new books, kites and candy. Ocean Pathway was described by National Geographic as the most beautiful short street in America. And if you like old things, the Chamber of Commerce holds a giant flea market here at the beginning and end of the summer season. And if you like flowers and gardens, Ocean Grovers have them in abundance, with some of the gardens winning horticultural awards. On the beach, you could enter a sandcastle building contest, watch a lifeguard tournament, or join an all-out search for the strange and obscure items of a scavenger hunt. That is, if you haven't fallen asleep in the sun. As you explore Ocean Grove's summer pavilions and historic streets, You'll discover chamber music concerts and bake sales, book sales, and jazz music and band music, and children's programs and firehouse dinners. Or perhaps you just want to sit on a bench and write a letter to a friend. From the opening of the season through the final days of summer, Ocean Grove is a very special vacation experience at the pace of yesteryear. Stroll these quaint streets, swim in the ocean, explore Victorian history, listen to great music, be inspired by a sermon. Celebrate the simple joys of life in an historic seaside resort. Ocean Grove, New Jersey, undisputably a national treasure, 125 years young in 1994.
In January of 1993, the Ocean Grove Camp Meeting Association began the planning of the celebration of 3 simultaneous anniversaries. The first being the 100th anniversary of our great auditorium. The second being the 125th anniversary of our community of Ocean Grove. And the third being the 200th anniversary of the camp meeting movement in America. Our Centennial Committee was composed of both camp meeting and community volunteers. Everyone worked together to raise more than $30,000 for a large variety of anniversary events. The celebration was planned to coincide with the 4th of July weekend, and it began on Friday evening, July the 1st, with a rededication ceremony for the great auditorium. The contents of the cornerstone, laid 100 years earlier, were revealed, and a reenactment of Reverend Elwood H. Stokes reminded all present that time, even a century of time, passes quickly. What is it you're looking for, Dr. Stone?
I am looking for money.
New Jersey Governor Christie Whitman and other state and local officials were in attendance, and they praised the remarkable contributions which our auditorium has provided our state.
And that, I think, is the important message of the great attracts visitors from around the world, from across this country, and particularly from this state. It is part of what makes New Jersey such a very special place in which to live. Following the rededication ceremony, thousands of residents and tourists headed for our new boardwalk, where they enjoyed a spectacular 30-minute firework display. It was a fabulous beginning for a wonderful weekend celebration. The next day, Saturday, July the 2nd, we hosted the biggest parade in Ocean Grove's history. The parade consisted of 208 units, including 17 bands, a dozen antique cars, clowns, bagpipers, a calliope, and of course, the traditional fire engines. There's only one thing people enjoy more than watching a parade, and that's being in a parade. This was a spectacular 3-hour parade, and everyone loved it. A Royal Rangers encampment was an added attraction, and their tents, teepees, and frontier exhibits were enjoyed by one and all, especially the children. The music of John Philip Sousa is a tradition in Ocean Grove, and on Saturday evening, a John Philip Sousa orchestra played to a full house in our great auditorium. On Sunday morning, following a tradition established 100 years earlier, the great auditorium's worship service provided spiritual inspiration for thousands of visitors. In the words of Dr. Stokes, the object of the Camp Meeting Association has always been and always will be preeminently religious. The aim of the association has been and is to keep its eye to the glory of God. On Monday, July the 4th, our first town picnic, complete with music and entertainment, attracted more than 700 people.
The all-American menu consisted of hot dogs, hamburgers, baked beans, coleslaw, watermelon, and soda. It was a fitting finale to a 4-day weekend, which included a rededication of our auditorium, fireworks, a spectacular parade, concerts, religious services, an international food fair, a picnic, and a centennial video which played for 4 days in our community room, temporarily renamed the Nickelodeon Theater. Ocean Grove is enjoying a remarkable renaissance. Restoration and beautification are in evidence everywhere. Our community spirit has never been more positive or optimistic, and our future appears to be as glorious as our past. We hope that you will visit our historic community as we embark on our journey into the 21st century. We have excellent restaurants and eateries, full-service Victorian hotels, and charming bed and breakfast establishments, unusual boutiques and craft shops, an unsurpassed variety of Victorian architecture, and a wonderful beach, brand new boardwalk and fishing pier, illuminated each evening with our recently restored cast iron lighting fixtures. Our community's crown jewel, our auditorium, will also provide enough spiritual, classical, and contemporary programs to satisfy every taste. Ocean Grove is the perfect blending of the past with the present. Less than 1 square mile in size, in close proximity to New York and Philadelphia, it's a precious Victorian community, and we hope you'll pay us a visit.